I've been speaking to many business owners, and some of them are anywhere between the ages of 50 to 65. It doesn't have to be in that age, but those are the specific use cases that I'm talking about here. And they're really reluctant to sell their business. They want to hold on to that thing as long as possible to try to maximize the quote unquote value. But just like you just said, Joe Rogan talks to his fighters, and when they have some apprehension as to what they're going to do in their next fight and they don't want to fight anymore, or should they be fighting, then they shouldn't. They should just stop right away. So what's your advice though to those business owners, and how do you deal with it, being someone who can prep somebody for exit?
Yeah, I'd talk to, that age group with some different things, right? When you've built that business, I mean, the reality is you've built that business. It's your baby. Some of you have started from the ground up, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's lived through 3 marriages, right? It is very hard to build a business, and every business owner has a story of a time they rescued the business when it didn't make financial or logical sense, right? Your identity gets tied up a lot in this, and being the caretaker of your employees and being this business person. I would say it's really convenient that when you're trying to scale your business, you have to make yourself independent of certain operations, because that attitude of slowly pulling yourself out of being the startup guy, the hustler, into the CEO, and then into the owner, kind of corresponds with that emotional distancing, to where this is not my money, this is the business's money. People are in charge of each of those areas, and I really am just here to be strategic, and I've built this with my vision. In some ways, when you're scaling a business, you have to even delete your own fingerprint, right? A lot of times you've built the entire process of your business around your personality.
True.
And that is not scalable, right? So I just think that's something very interesting to discuss with that age group. Now, I would say to the younger age group too, in the 40s and 50s, you actually are probably going to get much more money if you sell and you're able to stay on, and I'll tell you why. We had a traffic, just one more point. We have a traffic control company, right? 3 partners in their kind of early 50s. When we went out to market, it wasn't give me as much money as possible so I can leave. It was, we want to take over the world, buy the majority, make us rich, but we're going to stay on, and we want to take all of Texas, all of New Mexico. We want to just go crazy. Yeah. The buyers ended up coming up from what was at top 6 to 7 times, all the way up to 9.5 times, because they were like, we're going to...
We love these founders.
Not only are you getting your $40 million or so that we negotiated them, which, by the way, when that comes out, we might be the highest multiple ever on PitchBook for that kind of company under 5 million EBITDA. Super exciting. But not only did we negotiate the amount of money they pulled out, but we also negotiated that day one, they had a $60 million growth capital there and ready to fund them to go buy equipment and sell. So it's about crafting your story, and there really is a lot more value to selling before your apogee in value. And we could go on and on. But
well, and again, we've heard this time and time again from people, like I've heard on my podcast, and I'm sure you've dealt with many of your transactions, is they say almost, oh shoot, I'm gonna sell now. I think I'm just gonna sell, and I'm ready, when they're not. And it's always, that 3-year preparation planning. And if they're tuckered out, before the start of 3 years, where are they gonna be at 3 to 5 years trying to sell their business? So.
Yeah, if you're tired, you want to identify why you're tired, right? If you're tired of the business, we should probably find whether your employees buy you out or a big buyer to take over. Yeah. If you're tired because you just never have enough capital to grow, or you really never intended to be the CEO of a large business, right? That's the time when you should take some chips off the table, step into a role where 3 things come together. You like doing it, you're good at it, and it's good for the business, right? If you're doing all of these things you don't like and you're not good at that are good for the business, it's time to hire, or it's time to bring on a partner.
Yeah, so wise. Well, that's just been a quick little minute here with John Curtin, CEO and founder of Now Capital and Now Exit.